Hello and welcome to episode 229 of First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, from West Coast, Best Coast, Emma. How are you?
I strongly considered pulling a critical role on you, but I didn't.
Gonna interrupt me during the intro.
Yes.
Then, from the Great White North, Shanine, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
This week, we're chatting about the Oscars, um, Critical Role's 8th anniversary, and then Lord of the Rings coming to Magic the Gathering. Before we get into that, as always, you can find us on our social media as OneGeek411. You can join our Discord server or shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. You can watch live on Twitch, 6:45 Mountain Time, and check out our videos over on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. And then, of course, you can go and check out our Redbubble store. Every week, we like to kick things off with catching up on what we've been up to. And so this week, surprise, not going to be any different. And so let's start with Shanine for this one. How are you doing? How's your week been?
All right. My week has been not very exciting. My what I have been up to is Hogwarts Legacy and literally nothing else.
Being attacked by those crows.
Yeah. It was so weird. I saved the game and closed. No crows. Opened the game. Like a dozen crows. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, don't like that.
Vax is coming for you.
Unsafe. No, it's going good. I finally unlocked being able to breed animals, and baby thestrals are like the cutest thing ever. Oh my
I
gosh,
did
I
not
love
know that it's
them.
an option, and I'm hyped.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
then, Shanine, implies that your character has seen someone die.
Oh, they have. Yeah.
Okay.
First 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Great.
It's actually like a really
Don't
cool
say it
scene.
anymore.
Yeah, it's a really cool scene. I love what they did with it. But
I would have gotten it by now, but I can't afford it.
Yeah. Well, when you can, it is highly enjoyable. Yeah, it's been fun. And I guess the one other thing that I did do this weekend was my husband and I played a game of Magic the Gathering with
whoop,
our
whoop.
Warhammer 40K decks. I was Chaos Marines and he was Space Marines, and I got beat so very bad.
Aw.
I had the worst hand, and I wasn't getting any land that I needed. It was a rough go.
Still need to paint my Warhammer guy. Haven't painted him yet. But I think he's part of the Space Marines. I don't remember.
They looked like a space marine to me, and that's also all I know. So, like,
I picked him out because he had a cool sword.
Yeah, it's a good reason.
Yeah.
Have y'all played it with all of the decks yet? Like, are y'all rotating them around, or?
Yeah, we stick the little, I don't know, the little rectangular cardy thingies into a bag and pull out our deck that we're gonna play with.
Nice. That's a good way to do it. I still have yet to play with or against one of the 40k decks. Should do a webcam game. This needs to happen.
Gotta learn how to play.
Yeah. Hey.
It's first on my list.
Yeah, you got a bunch of people on the podcast that can teach you. So
I also have a roommate
who can
teach
you.
me. Who is, granted, we've been talking about it for months now that I should learn how to play, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So
You are a little busy.
So. Just a little bit.
So speaking of which,
over here being a grad student.
Emma, what have you been up to?
Let's see. This week is spring break, so I've been semi on break, and meaning I haven't done anything productive recently. Um, but I get to play it out to Boston this week, and I'm looking forward to that to see my cute little nephew again. But this weekend, very exciting weekend for me as a person because the Oscars were yesterday, um, and that was literally pretty much an all-day event for me, sitting on my couch watching the television, which I never do, um, because it was very exciting and like big part of my life, obviously. Also kind of hilarious because they were literally happening like 4 miles from my house. But my roommate and I were talking about this. Security was insane enough that she was driving by that like block where they're happening at 7 a.m. yesterday morning, and she said that the traffic was insane because they had shut down the entire like block all around pretty much. So the detour, because obviously when you have all these high profile people in one place, security is going to be intense. But yeah, that was very exciting. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Also watched The Last of Us ending episode. Woo-hoo. And was very happy, very pleased with, all of it, plus some of the special appearances. And I've been playing Lego Star Wars and Tomb Raider. That's a game I started recently. One of the newer ones, whatever that means, has a picture of an eclipse on the front. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun because that's going back into one of my guilty pleasures in video games and stuff, which is archaeologist adventure as a genre.
Yeah, your favorite subgenre of archaeology.
My favorite subgenre of adventure, which is archaeologist adventure. So I've been having a lot of fun with that and exploring South American cultures. So yeah.
Love it. For me, so been watching a bunch of stuff. Well, I say that. I've been watching a bunch of things once a week. And that's The Last of Us. As Emma said, we got the finale. And so super good. Very happy with how they handled this season. I'm very sad of like a lot of my Monday is catching up on The Last of Us news or like the podcast that they do alongside each episode, the behind the scenes, doing all of this. And now none of that's there anymore.
Wah,
So
wah.
here we are. And then also watching Mandalorian season 3 as well as The Bad Batch. And so for a little bit we had double Pedro.
Well, just a little bit.
Now we're back to single Pedro.
Single Pedro.
Yep.
I tried to explain to my mom who Pedro Pascal was while we watched the Oscars last night, and I was just like, "The Mandalorian, Mom, you like Star Wars." That's the only connection I could make that you would actually have any point of reference to.
You know that guy whose face you can't see the whole time?
Yeah.
That's who we're talking about.
Because I'm not going to refer you to the zombie show that's not really a zombie show. Like,
Yeah.
you would hate The Last of Us.
Oh.
But
it's okay. I saw a post today that was, just remember, this is the happy season. Like, like all the people that are like emotionally invested in this. And it's just like, just remember, it gets more sad. Like, oh, here we are.
Wah, wah.
And yeah, and then so on my end, I've also been playing Hogwarts Legacy. I have not unlocked breeding animals, which makes me sad. I did just get my first unicorn, so that's pretty cool. And then I've also started The Last of Us Part 1, kind of in celebration of the show. I had gotten a code for it through work when it came out, but never started it. And so the show has kind of been my motivation, which this is my third time playing The Last of Us. Like, I played the original when it came out on PS3. I played the remaster like 2 years ago, and now I'm playing the Part 1 remake. And this is possibly the most I've ever played a story game in terms of like the most number of plays. I think there's like a small handful of games that I've played twice, and I don't know if there's a game that I've played 3 times all the way through. So
I've played Horizon at least 3 times. Probably 4 times. And I'm on my second playthrough of Forbidden West.
Nice. Yeah. I just like so rarely go back to games. Like, especially ones that are story driven, because it's like I experienced the story. Like, that's what I mean, this is
That's what you came to
yeah.
do.
And like this doesn't say much because I don't read a ton outside of book club, but I'm the same way with books. Like, I very rarely go back and reread a book. And so yeah, so going through this for the third time is kind of a experience. And so I'm very excited. I'm still pretty early on, but really enjoying being back in that. And then this week I also played and beat Metroid Fusion, which was added to the Game Boy Advance thing through Nintendo Switch. And I have thoughts. And these are probably hot takes. I feel like that game is aggressively okay. Like, I'm sure it was amazing for the time, but like coming back to it, like now, it felt like all the parts of Metroid Dread that I didn't like. Like, that being said, like the atmosphere is super cool. Like, they did a great job, like, especially for what they had at the time. But like the actual gameplay of it, I feel like is all the parts of Metroid Dread that I didn't like. And that was just kind of the game.
Okay. 2-part question in relationship to this. Question 1, what is Metroid Dread? And question 2, it's Game Boy games on the Switch? What?
So for that, there's basically a built-in emulator on the Switch. And so through that, you can play specific like Game Boy through Game Boy Advanced games. I think N64 is on there as well. But basically, it's like a built-in emulator. Shout out to my friend Gary, who added me to his family, so I'm able to access these things.
I love that.
And so yeah. So basically, it's about, you don't have access to like the whole catalog or anything. Like, just to like throw out a number, I think there's like less than 10 Game Boy Advance games that you can play with it. But Metroid Fusion is one of the most recent ones that was added.
Which is
the Game Boy Advance game that
what's it about?
Oh, which is about Samus, who gets stuck on this space station after she's been infected with this virus, and basically the vaccine is the Metroids, which have been her enemies. And so she's like kind of gets turned into like a half Metroid thing to fight the virus.
This sounds like that book we read by this one with the squid people, not squid people. This one.
Oh, Binti. Yeah. It kind of has a similar vibe, yeah. And so yeah. And so basically you're going around the space station. One of the virus things has taken over your old suit that you have lost for plot reasons. Because every Metroid game starts with taking one of the coolest characters and then making them barely able to function. And so, and then, yeah, like the whole game is just, like every Metroid game is just you getting your powers back. And then like at the end, you're this really cool bounty hunter. And so with that, then Metroid Dread is the most recent Metroid game that came out on the Switch, which I think I'm fuzzy on the whole timeline because I haven't really played a lot of the games, but I think it might be a direct sequel to Metroid Fusion. Like Metroid Fusion goes straight into Dread, but I could be wrong there. So definitely
Where
do
you
not.
proceed to lose all of your powers
Right,
again.
where plot twist. Within the first 10 minutes, you lose all of your powers and have to spend the next like 10 getting them all back. And so,
Shocker.
yeah. So that is my very quick review of Metroid Fusion. Plus side, it's only like a 5-hour game. But I definitely do not know how people kept dying to those bosses over and over again without the rewind function that's on the Nintendo Switch. So
there you go.
But yeah, here we are. So, but yeah, with that, let's get into our topics for this week. Emma, since we're already on the Oscars, we'll start with you.
Ooh.
I say that we're already on the Oscars on this stream. That's the.
I got you. Okay, Oscars happened yesterday. As mentioned previously, very exciting for me. As I've mentioned previously, I love the Oscars. But normally, or at least last year, I think we had a whole episode dedicated to the Oscars. I said this year, not really necessary because it was a huge sweep on the part of Everything Everywhere All at Once and All Quiet on the Western Front. By that I mean those two films won a lot of the awards. For good or bad, that can be a very neutral thing, depending on who you are. Basically, the exciting things for that is it was first Asian woman to win an Oscar in the leading actress role, which is very exciting, and super great. And the other big win in my book that I was literally yelling and screaming about was Brendan Fraser winning for lead actor, and that was a big comeback and very exciting because he's been through a lot in terms of how Hollywood has treated him in the past, to put it mildly, and he's getting the recognition he deserves, again, as someone who is a big fan of archaeologist adventure movies. I love The Mummy and just adore him as an actor. So my roommate could attest to the fact that I was sitting there yelling my head off when he won. So those are the super exciting wins and or just the overview. It is the first Oscars back at full force since COVID. Last year it was very toned down, but this year it was back at its full capacity, if you will, which was fun to see. Lots of really nice dresses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not usually a fashion person, but that's sort of why I watch the Oscars, is to just look at the pretty dresses. So, yeah, that's the general overview. A very brief summary to sum it down. Lady Gaga sang a couple of other. Oh, the other really exciting one that I was also very pleased about was Best Original Song was a Bollywood song. I love Bollywood. Okay. So it was from RRR, which is on Netflix.
I was just about to ask, but like that's the only like Bollywood movie that I know of that's current, so I wasn't sure if there was like.
And it's the song Natu Natu, and it won for Best Original Song, which is so exciting because not only is it a foreign project film thing, but it's a Bollywood song film thing, and it's like one of the first like representations of Bollywood to ever be seen on the Oscar stage. So that was great and very exciting. So those are my summary announcement wins from the big night last night.
Yeah. Shanine said this in our chat, which is I feel like I've seen none of the movies from this year's Oscars, which I feel like was fully me as well. I'm super sad I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once yet. Like that's one that I know I would love, and I just haven't gotten to watch.
Man,
Um,
it is a wild movie.
yeah. We almost watched RRR over the weekend. Um, but it was like for the amount, like for how long it is, we just like weren't willing to dedicate that time to it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of the other movies that were like nominated this year that I've seen, I was not like super interested in.
Yeah.
And so, which admittedly is not that many of them, but like,
Valid.
but
Yeah, it's really a hit and miss every year in terms of like whatever things are on or like nominated in terms of how interesting they actually are um, versus everything else out there. Um, Wakanda Forever won for best costuming, which was great and exciting and fabulous. And I think makeup.
let me see.
It won either one or both.
The whale won makeup and hairstyling.
The whale, that's right. Which that also would make sense. But Wakanda won for costuming, and that was pretty fun because that's Marvel. Always good to see Marvel win something in that regard. So yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Picture along with 5 others, I believe, off the top of my head. Best Actress for Jamie Lee Curtis. Best Supporting Role. Original Script. And a couple of others. I can't remember what others off the top of my head, but it was pretty much a clean sweep between that and All Quiet on the Western Front, which I haven't seen, but it looks pretty interesting. Also, granted, looks kind of like 1917 to me, which I love because the camera work in 1917, I know I've gushed about that before. That's a one-shot movie, and I could talk about it all day. But that's just me being the nerdy filmmaker that I am.
Yeah. And I feel like stuff like that for like 1917 is like it's like a magic trick. It's like we all know it's not one shot, but it's like the amount of work that goes into making it look like one.
Yep.
Is it's like that's like part of the magic of that filmmaking.
Yep.
Is that it's like you get because it's not like God of War where you can very much do that because it's just programming, but like not to say it was easy in God of War by any means, but like but from like a setup, your Kratos doesn't have to go to sleep, so like
no,
you have to worry about your actors in a much different way. So
yeah. So yeah, that's the off the top of my head all of the things that are important for this crew to mention in terms of wins and or paying attention to. Everything Everywhere All at Once is a wild movie. It's you either love it or you hate it. Most people love it, but the people who I have talked to who dislike it absolutely strongly hate it with a passion, which is very interesting. So it is really one of those movies where it's like, well, I mean, watch it at your own pace or whatever. Like, I can see why some people would dislike it, but it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I also, granted, don't think it deserved all of the Oscars that it got, but it's not like I have any control over that, so.
not any control over it so far.
So far.
Gotta shoot your shot, Emma.
I'm doing my best, Cameron.
Sounds great.
One thing at a time.
Janine, what do you got for us this week?
This past week, Critical Role celebrated their 8-year anniversary of actual playing, which is super exciting. I don't know how long other long running actual plays have been going for, but 8 years feels like a very long time to be telling stories with your crew.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's so interesting about them is it's been largely the same cast for those 8 years. Like obviously there have been differences, but like that's actually like one of the things that's caused me to fall out of some of the actual plays. Is it's like obviously people like life happens for people and people can't be there, but some of the plots just get so ceremonially dropped that it's like okay, well, I really liked what was happening here, but now I don't care because you just had to write this character out for life reasons.
People like Pike, who just sort of comes and goes
You
based
know,
on the needs of Ashley Johnson.
yeah, sometimes she's there for several weeks, and other times she vanishes mysteriously.
Hey!
The reception's not great at the temple or whatever.
No. It's almost like there's a blind spot or something. Hey! Shanine got me. I got a reaction from Shanine.
But yes, um, I just I love the way that they love telling stories, and I'm just like so genuinely happy for them that they just get to do what they love, and it's awesome. I saw Wash's Media on Twitter posted like a bit of a montage titled "Why Do We Tell Stories?"
Oh,
with
I
a
think
bunch
Matt
of like,
retweeted this.
yeah, he did,
Yeah.
with a bunch of in session clips that are just so heartwarming, um, about the importance of stories and the impact that they made.
We won't have audio, but I will put it in the feed so people can see it.
Um, yeah, it's a great montage.
Ooh, Cameron. Once that video is done, the artist, the next tweet down, I have a sticker from that artist.
Oh, from Cabbage.
Yeah.
My Gilded Lily is their handle.
Yeah. I have. This is very on topic, I promise. Oh, that's the wrong drawer. One of my newest, latest, and greatest and favorite stickers. Loot his corpse, take his vest.
Get him. Teach him a lesson.
Get him. This is, for people who don't know, that's a little mini of Matt from one of their, like, break ads where it's Taliesin and Ashley playing with a bunch of minis, and Matt comes storming in mad at them for whatever reason. And then they just knock over his mini and are like, loot his corpse, take his vest. And then someone made fan art of it, and it went viral. And that people wanted stickers. So I got two, and I now have one on my car. And I have another one as backup for something else if I want to put another one on something else. I also got one of their owl bear. The artist also did an owl bear, and I put that one on my car as well. So yeah. Continue, Shini. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I got excited.
Yes. As a group of people who is also super into tabletop role-playing games, why do you tell stories?
Because we have been since the beginning of our existence, and it is part of our nature to do so. And I love them so much. And life would be very boring without them. Or at least my life. My life would be very boring without stories. And it is an output for all of the crazy things that happen inside my head.
I'll say that I think the boring answer for me is like it's a great way of demonstrating what matters to you. Like the stories that you connect with, the stories that mean something to you, and like kind of as Emma said, like that's been such a core part of humanity since we've existed. Is that idea of hearing, telling, and retelling stories, and like the stories that persist over time very much illustrate the things that matter to those people because it's like what was worth preserving. And then again, they've been going around a lot lately on Twitter, but it's like the 10 games that define you as a person, or like 8 shows that explain who you are, that kind of thing. And the thing that I really like about those is because again, it's kind of simple, but like maybe boring was the wrong word, but like the simple thing is like seeing those for people is it's like, oh yeah, because like what I know of this person, this makes sense, or like connecting the dots of like what matters. Of like I'll say for me, like one of my core things is Avatar: The Last Airbender, and like I feel like that's one of the things that like if you understand that about me, like that very much colors how I live and how I experience things because of that story. Um, and then I'll say from like a specifically D&D fashion, I think there's something fun about not being in control of the story. That like, and I think that that's part of why D&D as a storytelling medium that doesn't really have a story. Like there obviously is like official lore and stuff, and there have been books, but like in terms of like it's not like I'm playing a game that is the same game that you're playing. That's like we're not all of our games don't fit into one world necessarily. But I think part of what appeals to people there is the idea of coming together and telling a story that has some random elements. You can't just win the day, but at the same time, you like do have some control over what happens, and you get to kind of adapt the story around you. Like I've used this example before, but playing through the Strixhaven story with some people, like while that is like a core narrative, like the version of the plot that's happened in that story is not good in my world is not going to be the same. That's what's happening to a friend of mine who's playing through it. And even though we're both DMing the same outline, like there's radically different stuff and like radically different interpretations of characters and things like that. And I think that that's part of what makes that type of storytelling so appealing.
The outcomes can be completely different,
yep,
despite playing the exact same thing.
Right.
Each group's going to make their own set of decisions and choices just based on who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think when I'm talking about the importance of stories, it's like always going to come down to my favorite Doctor Who quote every single time. We're all stories in the end. Just make it a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're a storied people. We're made of stories. We make stories. And it's how we connect to others and it's how we connect to ourselves. And I don't know, we tell stories because we can't not tell stories. It's just who we are.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't met an entire person in all the universe who wasn't important. Something along those lines. I feel like connects to that. And it's another Doctor Who quote of like, where he's basically like, everyone in the universe is important. Like, even if you don't feel it. I think that was the 11th Doctor? I don't remember. I just know it's a Doctor Who quote that I feel like connects to that in many ways.
Do we want to talk about this next thing now or save that for after?
I want to hear about it now.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know. So, for my 30th birthday, that was like forever ago, I got to hire a GM from a friendly local gaming store and play Monster of the Week, which me and my group of friends that played had never played before. So that was super duper fun. Monster of the Week is like a super fun, super easy tabletop RPG system. Um, it's like a specific setting for a tabletop RPG system. I can't remember what it was called anymore, but they're all kind of similar. But it's it's super simple. Like all of us came in knowing absolutely nothing about it and like created our characters and we're good to go in like half an hour basically. So basically it's just like a modern setting with supernatural monsters that you get to fight.
Ooh.
So a la Buffy or Supernatural. Um, and I think there's like a limit of 6 or 7 characters because they come with like each person has to play a different kind of like a class, we'll say, but there can only be like one of each. So there's like one person who's like the professional hunter, one person who is like the bookish one who like knows a lot of like the lore and things. There's one person who's just a person who happened to get caught up in it all, like all those kinds of roles. And so each person picks their role and then it kind of walks you through character creation on your like one sheet as well. You like pick any like weapons or equipment and things. You pick a couple of like really cool moves that you get to do and like maybe a couple other like bonus things for your role. And they're super fun and all very like flavorful. Um like I'm trying to think. I played like the bookish character, and
What?
so I got
Wow.
Wow.
Shocker.
surprise.
You played such a different part than I would have
Wow.
expected.
I
Who would have
know.
thought?
But if I like went back to my lair safe house place and like read books, I then got a bonus for investigating the mystery moving forward, things like that. So super fun
Like
system.
your lair as the bookish one, so that the library, like, just got
My
like,
own personal library.
right, yeah, not like
Yeah.
the library, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, or like the definite, like the singular, that one, the your library, not the one everyone else gets to go to.
Yeah. But yeah, super fun system, super fun game. Um, we there was a couple different directions, mysteries that we got wrapped up in that we could have gone after, which was kind of fun. Um, we fought a big, like, genetically altered alligator wolf creature, which was kind of wild.
That's pretty cool.
And then we were also going after a werewolf. So there was some mysteries being solved. Pretty fun. And like 10 out of 10 recommend hiring a GM. Like, no stress for all of us. We just show up and get to play the game. And this was like such a good experience. The GM that we had was like really chill, really good at like encouraging us, like, oh, that's a really good idea. Like, give it a try. And then I would roll horribly and it wouldn't happen. And he'd be like, it was a good idea though.
But it was a good idea. The dice just chose that it didn't work.
Yeah. And yeah, it was really fun.
So, most important question. Did they bring candy that you got when you defeated monsters?
Did not.
Rookie mistake.
Wah, wah.
That's one of the...
in our review.
Yeah. Take a star off for that. Did not bring candy.
I saw a post recently about a group that would play, and it was back when they didn't have a lot of money, so the DM would use like Jolly Ranchers and, you know, pieces of like pizza or donuts or whatever it was that they were eating that time to be the monsters. And whenever they did defeat it, whoever got to land the killing blow got the biggest portion of that thing, or the whole thing if it was like a Jolly Rancher or whatever, as a reward. So you got to eat the mini.
I
That's really
at
fun.
PAX East a couple of years ago, we did some Starfinder, and it was starbursts were the enemies. And so if you got the final hit on the starburst, you got to eat it. So
Yeah.
that was why I asked. But that's super cool. Like, I'm so jealous of that experience. Like, that seems like I've heard of people doing the like hire a DM before, but like you're like the first person I know that's like actually done it, like, and like that I've known that had done it. And so I'm so like excited for you that both, like, 'cause that's like an awesome birthday thing.
Yeah.
And then like on top of that it was such a cool experience. Like, I'm so jealous.
It was fun. Highly recommend.
I mean, it's such a fun way to do a birthday, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how Critical Role started, actually. Because Liam and Laura have the same birthday, and Liam wanted to play D&D for his birthday. So Matt said he would run it. And then it just started as a home game. And then Felicia Day brought them on to Geek and Sundry. Because there was some connection there. But it started because Liam wanted to play D&D for his birthday. This is the kind of random stuff I made to hold on to in my head. All the useless information that I'm like, oh yeah.
It's the meme of like, I can't remember the person's name that I just met, but I know the history of Critical Role.
Yeah. Been my obsession for the past year and a half now, guys. Welcome.
Oh, and I wanted to ask Shanine, I think you've told me, but how did you go about finding the DM?
So my friend had shared about this new game store that had opened up, and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then I saw you could hire a GM there. I was like, awesome. So they had just like an online form you could fill out with like how many people in your party, what game you wanted to play, all that kind of stuff. And I guess someone got assigned to us.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That makes me very curious because like that's something I've never even like thought to ask at my like there's a big like D&D scene at the shop that I go to, and I've just like never thought to ask about that. So. I might be stealing this birthday idea.
Yeah. So am I. Just gotta hunt down the people who want to participate.
So for our next topic, speaking of forced segues, which are stories that have survived a long time, um, Janine referenced at the top that she has been playing the Warhammer 40k Magic decks. The next big batch of like cross IPs called the Universes Beyond that are coming into the world of Magic the Gathering is Lord of the Rings. And listeners that are watching on YouTube will already know a whole bunch more because tomorrow there's actually going to be a stream where they're going to go over a bunch of stuff. But today we kind of got a first teaser for some of the cards. And so we got the One Ring, which I'm not going to go through like reading the whole card, but basically every time you tap it, you draw cards. And then the more times that you've done that, the more damage it deals you, but the more cards you draw. So it's kind of like the bargain that's on the card. And then the ring also protects you temporarily. And so that's the One Ring. We also got Gandalf the Grey. And we got him with some alternate art as well, which is super cool. I'm very much a fan of like the ring on the frame. And how that goes around. And apparently this art style is going to like demonstrate, actually like I pulled the quote, the showcase frame is meant to express what happens inside the ring, saying it symbolizes the power that the quest for the One Ring can have in the different characters' internal struggles. And so this struggle is Gandalf confronting the Balrog. And so this is really cool. Basically, every time you cast an instance or sorcery, you get one of the effects that you haven't gotten already. And then at the end, Gandalf goes on top of your library because he has to go off on a journey somewhere. And that's kind of the idea. And then you draw him on your next turn and he comes back.
There you go.
I love that. And then we also got a look at the full art lands for this set, which are all the maps of Middle Earth. And so it's super fun. And so again, not necessarily anything like crazy there. But we also got some art for Gandalf the White. And we got confirmation that there's going to be 3 different versions of Gandalf. We're going to have Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White, and then Gandalf Friend of the Shire. And so we're going to kind of... Magic did this in one of their recent sets that focused on like a longer story where we actually saw the main characters as like teenagers, adults, then old men. And so it seems like they're kind of doing that same thing here. Although, of course, Gandalf's always been old. But they're doing that same type of thing. And then, yes, and I think this other art is the Gandalf Friend of Elves. And so, or Friend of the Shire, I mean. And
that's fun.
Yeah. I'm very excited for all of this. Let's actually go back to this one. And honestly, I feel kind of the similar way to it. I know a lot more. I'm a lot closer to the Lord of the Rings fandom than I am Warhammer. But it's still, I wouldn't like necessarily say is one of my core fandoms, but it is a core fandom for a whole bunch of my friends. So like, while like, I don't really know anyone like in the area that plays Warhammer, I have had multiple people reach out to me because they're planning to get the Lord of the Rings stuff and ask about learning to play Magic because of it. And so I'm very excited for that. And then I'm very excited to see this and kind of what this will bring to the fandom. I don't have a good way of showing the picture, but there's also like an 18 card diorama that if you like set the art next to each other for those 18 cards, it makes one picture. And so I'm very excited for that. I'll try to pull it up in the post show. But it seems like they're doing a lot of really cool stuff with this set, and it's the like I'm very excited to see what they do with these characters, even kind of with like a little bit more than surface level knowledge of the Lord of the Rings. Um, but then I'm so excited for what it means for my friends. And so with that, what is y'all's experience? Like, does this get y'all excited? As people that, I mean, Shadeen, you said you had played Magic. Emma, you're interested in learning. How do y'all feel about Lord of the Rings stuff?
I would be much more likely to play because it's familiar content that I know and enjoy. So there's some kind of touchstone, stepping stone to get into it. In general.
These like pre-made decks like 40K was?
Mm-hmm. So there will be a like booster set of cards, and there will be pre-made decks. So I don't know if they've announced what themes the pre-made decks are. I have not seen that. I would guess we'll get that tomorrow. But I would not be surprised if it's kind of like the major factions from the fight. So like we'll get an orc one, an elf one, maybe dwarves, like or like the fellowship. Like it seems like a big miss if there's like if one of the decks isn't the fellowship. And so
kind of a necessity.
Yeah. And so so this one will be different from the 40K sense and from the 40K ones in that sense, where the 40K was purely contained in those decks and some other secret layers, but fully contained in those decks, whereas these are contained but also have some official Lord of the Rings booster packs as well. And then I do want to prep y'all because we are getting purely contained Doctor Who decks later this year. So I hope you're ready. Because you know I'm getting that Matt Smith deck. Like
It was so much easier to not spend money on Magic the Gathering when it was like, well, you have to like get into it if you want to get into it. And now it's like, well, I just need to buy the special decks. And they're like, okay, here's like 12 of them.
Yeah. And here's, you like this fandom? Well, here's Warhammer. Here's Lord of the Rings. Here's Doctor Who. Like, all of the fandoms people care about. Like,
all of them.
But yeah, so people watching, y'all will have more information than we do now. But if you want to discuss that more information, of course, feel free to jump into our Discord, where I will be happily posting all of the Lord of the Rings things tomorrow. And so, but with that, that is going to bring us to the end of our podcast for this week. Announcement wise, our next book club, Living Resistance, by Caitlin B. Curtis, is coming at the end of the month on March 30th. So be reading for that. I have not started, but I have the book.
A few pages in.
Okay. So that is coming up. We will be ready by March 30th. And so,
yeah, we will.
And then remember, you can find us at our social media, which is OneGeek411. Join that Discord server. Shoot us an email at 1stgeek411. Check out our Redbubble, or at gmail.com. Check out our Redbubble store. You can watch live on Twitch Monday nights at 6:45 Mountain Time, and find the video over on our YouTube. And then you can find us at our personal social medias. Mine is Humar Whittle.
Mine is I am not prepared with an I.
I'm the Hoot and Howl on Twitter and Hoot and Howl Tales, TALES, on Instagram.
And it's been a great week.
Follow your dreams.
Read a book.